Today is the day where I'm going to rank every single Genshin character based off of how I think and feel they would do in the Squid game. And I promise you that I'm going to offend someone out there. Now, I think Kaya would win easily. I can't help but see him being the one to trick other participants into helping him win. But if he was with Diluc, I also see him and Diluc killing each other on a bridge just like that one couple did with the tempered glass. And I guess you could say the same thing would be said for Diluc. And that's also why I'm gonna put him and Diluc right next to each other in the killing for other participants list, because I just see them being perfectly fine with killing people. But they also have the same chance of winning in my eyes if one of them isn't there. Now that I think about it, whichever team has Noelle on their team in Tug of War would definitely win easily. I think she would sacrifice herself for someone else though. Like, can't you just see, like, Child and Kaya asking her to go first on the tempered glass, and then she decides to go just to help them out? She's just way too kind. Of all the characters in Genshin, I see Klee accidentally or actually killing someone, so I'm just gonna put our favorite local child arsonist right here. I think it works pretty good for her. To be honest, she's probably too poor to even join the Squid game, but Mona definitely would have to participate if she wanted to win some of that cash prize money. I could see Mona being one of the people who votes to end the game because it's the logical solution, but then comes back later because she needs the money anyway. I don't see her winning the game afterwards though, but I do think she'd make it pretty far. Tartaglia. So I think Child has one of the best chances to win. I think he would spare no time killing others though, anyone in his path, you know, just because he's used to it. I could totally see him doing this, having an attitude of, "This is for my sibling," with that smile of his. You know, the one he always uses. And then he pushes Chi-Chi or Seiyu off the glass. Everyone else would see him as a threat though, and probably not be willing to work with him. But I do think that he has a good chance to win for sure, because he has the power of family, you know. I see a few different outcomes for Bennett. Either way, he's unlucky in all of them. But the first one is, in one game he trips and falls and loses, or he gets the umbrella in the next game, or even worse than that, he makes it farther in the game, then gets matched up against his best friend in marbles and then ends up winning when he was trying to lose. Forever stuck with the guilt of trying to save them. Most likely, I think he'll die game 1 with his luck though. I don't know why, but I don't see Chang'e making it that far. All I see is Hu Tao pushing him and then he dies. Just because of that. Zhongli, he's an old man. He's probably played all the games before as he tries to remember them. I'll let that sink in for a moment. But yeah, Zhongli would make it pretty far, but probably not win. Can't really see him winning. Probably one of the most reckless participants in the game yet. Venti is so reckless that it puts him in danger of dying early on. But he's also a wild card. Pretty sure he'd be great at getting other people to do tasks that he didn't want to do for himself. He's also super powerful. This is probably a good enough spot for him. Gonyu is definitely going to be the first follower on the list. She's not the type of person to take command or kill the other participants, unless, you know, Rex Slap has told her to. Not to mention she's also super athletic and can probably beat up half the competition. She's the kind of person you wouldn't expect much of, but when you end up meeting her, you're like, oh, she can do a lot. I feel bad for anyone who tries to mess with Gonyu or her friends. If there's anyone that had a chance at winning the game, I think it would be Jean. Seeing as she's already an all-rounder with, you know, the perfect substats, but she would probably end up sacrificing herself during the marble game to Barbara, or just end up dying by trying to help Barbara in some way. And that's why I'm gonna put her in the sacrifice herself. But if Barbara wasn't there, Jean would win instantly. I think it'd be pretty hard for her to win, since Seiyu would probably just fall asleep. And then maybe she'd try and assassinate the Traveler again just because someone asked her to. Which is why I think Seiyu's more of a follower, because she doesn't want to do any work either. And if you end up offering her sleep, she's just going to take the deal anytime. Especially if you say she's going to grow taller afterwards. Deanno. I mean Diona. It's in her name. She wouldn't win even if she got lucky and managed to get past the RNG events. she would lose on the last game probably, if anything. For tug of war, it really just depends whose team she ends up on. Barbara I see being a follower, joining up with Jean in the group that she creates, and then Jean ends up sacrificing herself for Barbara, and then Barbara still fails to win anyway. You know what? I could be a little crazy about this, but I think Zhao would just win. He has a lot of good things going for him, especially seeing as he doesn't exactly trust people right off the bat. He's a good judge of character, he's athletic. There's just a lot of odds in his favor. I think Zhao could win it all. I don't see Zhang Ling having any problems with any of the events, especially the honeycomb event. She'd probably be the person to help all the other players out with their cookies, probably teaching them how to beat it faster. I don't think Zhang Ling would have a reason to win though, unless they change the prize from money to food. Lisa is really smart. She would make the game super interesting. She may not be the person you think of when you think of winning, but she can't be counted out yet either. I feel like Lisa would be one of those people just to follow Jean with a few other characters. She's definitely not the type of person who would want to be a leader of a group of people, and I feel like she wouldn't die anytime soon unless betrayed by someone else. And even then, there's not really anyone that could betray her unless they were like Jean, and Jean wouldn't do that. Fischl has a really good chance of winning, but I do feel like she would die if a fight ever broke out at night time due to someone hating her for being annoying by talking too much. And if you were at the Reconciling Stars event during 1.1, then you know what I'm talking about. She was just a little bit too annoying. You shouldn't even have to ask about this one. If anything, Chi-Chi deserves to be at the very top of the list. She would definitely win the Squid Game, hands down. But to be honest, Chi-Chi would probably just forget the rules of the game and die in the first game, so I'm just gonna put her as dying. Iula is agile and strong, but I can't help but think that she would either get betrayed or used by someone else and then be like, mark my words, vengeance will be mine, or get taken out before she can even flex her strength in something more technical like the cookie game. If she did make it past that though, she's definitely one of the girls I could see making it all the way and winning it all, but for now I'll just leave her here. I actually see Aloy doing really well. Maybe it's because she's already used to killing people in her game, so maybe I should just put her in the killing category. She's not exactly afraid to get rid of anyone that gets in her way, and I think since she's smart, athletic, and willing to kill people, she could win the whole thing. Let's not forget she also has an AI robot in her hair that can tell her everything she needs about technology. Her AI partner could also probably tell the tempered glass apart. So yeah, I think Aloy has a really good chance of winning the Squid Game. Ifer and Lumeen, technically the two strongest people in Teyvat, probably make it to the end with the sheer power of plot armor and or the power of friendship. If anything, they'd probably be the one to stop Child from winning. Sucrose I feel like would die in a game of tug of war or in marbles against Albedo, where he would look at her before leaving the room and then not say anything. Now, Albedo is a clever dude. He would probably use Child as a meat shield during red light, green light, and he'd probably know which pieces of glass are tempered glass thanks to alchemy. The only thing that I think would stop him is the last game, because I don't see him as much of a hand-on-hand fighter. So I'm gonna say he'd win just because of how smart he is. He'd probably figure out a way to do it. You know, Goro would probably die because he trusted Kokomi too much, and he'd just be a casualty of war. He's definitely a follower. Sarah, I could totally see her getting into fights with Kokomi, especially in red light, green light, but somehow both of them would survive the first encounter. She'd get pretty far in the games, even with Ito bugging her about getting married, but I don't think she would win. Speaking of Kokomi, she is a very strategic person. I could see her gathering the best of comrades in order to secure victory, probably betraying Goro in order to reach her goals, as I said before. Just the price of war, you know. Whether she could make it past tug of war, that's hard to say. Most likely she died to night fighting for being seen as a threat, or getting pushed off the glass by Tartaglia. Either way, she would make a really big impression on the game. And I don't think she would mind a few losses here and there. She'd get pretty far. Maybe I should put her in the killer section. But no, I don't really see Kokomi as a killer. I don't see much hope for him winning early game. I think Razor has a really good chance late game, but not so much early game because I don't think he has the patience to cut out shapes, and I feel like he would be one of those characters to use a little bit too much strength and break it. He technically would probably die in the second game, but I think we can make an exception and just leave him here in the first one. And yes, I know Lisa was his teacher, but I still don't see him not accidentally messing up in that one. It's just my personal opinion. Anyways, onto Kazuo. I could see him winning. The only problem is, I'd say Kazuo would get pretty far, but he doesn't have the guts to end his friend's life. And that's a good thing, right? You wouldn't want a friend that's just like, yeah, if we ever had to come between me and you, I'm gonna take you down. Like, no, that's not what you'd want in a friend. And just like Kazuha, I could see Toma ending up in a game of marbles with Ayaka. And just like he sacrifices his damage for his shield, Toma might sacrifice himself for Ayaka. With a lot of contemplation, giving up his marbles to her in the end because he's just that nice. Though I don't think there's any chance he'd ever win the Squid Game though. After leaving the game of marbles, I think Ayaka would have a very good chance of winning, but I don't think she would win. If Xingqiu's really in the Squid Game, then he has to be desperate for something. He'd make it pretty far in the game, but I don't really know if he'd do anything spectacular. He feels more like a side character, to be honest. If anything, he's the only person Kokomi wouldn't take out, because she loves reading his books. Rosaria is pretty good with knives and doesn't trust people that easily. She has a very good chance of coming out on top if she makes it to the last game, but whether she could make it that far though is a little bit hard to tell, especially if she ended up being paired against someone super cunning. I don't think she's really afraid to kill anyone, so that's also another reason. I could see Kaching being asked by Gonyu to play marbles, only to find out the rules later, and with a sad expression on both their faces and many ties, she eventually wins and says goodbye to her best friend. I could also see the same situation happening with Zhangling, and I do think that Kaching has a very high chance of winning. Xinyan is such a great cook that she would definitely make it through the honeycomb event, but after that I could see her biting the dust somewhere along the way. She might even sacrifice herself for someone like Beto since she's such a nice person. The best thing about her participating in the Squid Game though would be that she got some screen time. Yanfei would complain about the rules of the game being unjust and end up talking to the staff telling them that the game needs to end. The staffs would say that they need a fair vote in order for it to happen. After the vote happens, she wouldn't return to the game because she enjoys the law. I see living as a win, so that's technically a win in my book too. I think Yanfei would also try to sue them as well by the end of it all. Okay, so Amber has a lot of endurance seeing as she glides a lot, right? All day for fun, which is definitely not an easy thing to do. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt and say she'd make it pretty far. I also see her as being a follower and joining a group with a Eula or Jean, making sure no one fights and everyone gets along, so I'm just gonna put her there. Part of me says though she's also a wild card just like Venti. Ningguang to me would probably form a group of her own people, you know, the Liwa Qixing, most likely with Gonyu and Kaching, and even Beto. I could also see her being one of the VIPs just cause she's so rich. So I'd say she'd make it pretty far. Definitely more of like a leader type of character. Now for our favorite firecracker, Yomiya is a master of snack and toy making, so she would breeze past the honeycomb challenge with ease. She's definitely great at bringing people together and would even probably motivate people to not give up. I do feel though that she's too trusting and she might be one of the first people to step on tempered glass for others, only to make a mistake and die in the end. Beto would easily defeat Tug of War, and I think unless she got paired against Ningguang or Kazuo, she would very easily win in marbles. She's not going to give up or try to lose because they're her friend, so I think Beto has a very good chance of crushing every one of her opponents. She also is a pirate, so she definitely has the skills to fight off anyone in a 1v1 match or 2v2, etc. I don't know why, but I just see Hu Tao in the basement with all the bodies saying, "Business is booming." The only thing I could really see someone taking out Hu Tao in is Tug of War. Besides that, I think she could win everything else pretty easy. I can see Ito winning everything besides tempered glass and honeycomb, but I've heard he studies elegance, so he should be fine. And now, finally, Last but not least, the Raiden Shogun A. Raiden would 100% kill anyone in their way in order to win the game. And that's a fact. And we're done! Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed my list. Get a good look at it. Let me know where you would put people. It's probably different, I know. There's also a link in the description if you want to make your own tier list with this list. Now if you excuse me, I have some streaming to do. Adios.